So, welcome to a new episode of Mostly Engineering, and let's take a closer look at the milling machine. So, welcome to this episode, and today I want to take a closer look at my milling machine, a Proxxon MF70, and I'm going to do this exactly like I did with the lathe review, in that I'm not going over the specs, comparing them, but I tell you what I think about using this machine for the last 5 or something years. Also, I have to say, I haven't used it all that often in that years, and there are of course reasons for it, but we will come through it. So, with no further ado, let's go over to the desk and take a closer look at the machine. So, and here we have our machine in all its glory, and what shall I say, it does exactly what you expect to do, and it does reasonably a good job at it. So we have a handle to turn our table on the Y direction, we have one for the X direction and one for the Z direction, and then we have a switch for on and off, and a switch where we can change the RPM to everything between 5,000 and 20,000 RPM. And if we take a look at the label in front, we see the data for cutting a steel, cast iron, aluminium, and brass. And except for the cast iron, I already cut everything on here. And I have to say, it works really, really nice. Also, cutting stainless steel the soundscapes is more on the shrieky side, so that's not that nice, but it works perfectly. So if you want to see it live, just look for the last Enigma build videos where we did this. And when you get the machine, you of course get the machine, then 2 very cheap spanners for the collets. And here we have, unfortunately, and you get a collet set, but it's unfortunately the Proxxon Micromod collet. So no standard like ER20 or something like this. So you are basically stuck with the sizes that Proxxon gives you. And this is 1mm, 1.5, 2mm, 2.4, 3, and 3.2. If you need collets in other sizes, you are out of luck. And on the good side, these are exactly the same collets that the other Micromod tools are using. So when you have the machine, you probably also have the rotary tool from Proxxon, and so everything there is cross-compatible, what is really nice. And lastly, you get a pair of some really nice high quality step clamps to mount stuff to your table. So very nice, and as I said, this machine works really nice as you expected. Now, right from the start, the table was a little bit wobbly, so just moving without any pressure, I could move the table. So that took a bit of finessing with the Gibbs, but since then it works really, really smooth. But this machine has its problems, and the first one is that it's so small and lightweight. Of course, that's an advantage in itself, but it's so light that when I move the wheel over here and I move it fastly, I move the entire machine. And this doesn't feel great. It feels very, very wobbly. Also, as the whole machine is moving and the tables is, if you finesse a little bit with the Gibbs, it's nice and stable, so on your part you won't see it. But yeah, it feels not really reassuring if your whole machine moves by just moving the wheel. Of course, you have these 4 screws to bolt it down to the table, and you should definitely do it. I unfortunately can't do it because I have to move this thing out of the way a lot, and so bolting it down isn't an option. And considering this, the fact that it's so light is also an advantage. The next big problem with the machine, and I have this with the lathe as well, are the wheels, and they don't feel like a precision instrument. First, we have our marker over here, and the front one is the best to see, but the width of this line is about 0.5 millimeter. So yeah, there is already some guesswork, and then your finest increment is 0.05 of a millimeter. So a little bit more would have been nice. Another problem is that this wheel is so low that when I turn it, I always hit my hand to the ground. The other wheel, here we have the same marking, but the problem that when we sit in front of the machine, we can't see the slot, so we always have to go over here to actually see what we are doing. And with the Y and X direction, that's not such big of a deal because usually here I work with layout lines, and for what I'm doing, that's plenty precise enough. But the big problem comes with the marker on the Z-axis, because here, the marker is here, I can feel it, but seeing it is nigh impossible. So you have to go in like so, but then your head casts a shadow over here, so you lose all the contrast to see it. So moving the Z direction is more or less guesswork. I don't know, was it so difficult to put the marker in here? And in general, is it so difficult to put some color in the marker so that we have a bit more contrast? But yeah, this one, the Z direction height is simply terrible. And we will fix this, but this is for probably the next video. Then we have these rulers over here. These are completely useless. The marking line for the ruler on the front is basically 1 millimeter wide. So that's a nice piece of precision. And here we have this mark. So with the gap in between, yeah, they are not really that useful. So, and the last problem I have with this machine is the reach this thing actually has. So let's mount a workpiece to the table and look at the problem. So, and now I put a piece of wood on the machine, blacken the one side so that we can see the cut a little bit easier. And this piece is 16 by 7 centimeters. And you can see this is on the very edge what we can mount to the machine. The brackets already are a little bit over the table. And even so, we barely can mount this. This is definitely not the working environment we have. So between the brackets, we have about 12 centimeters and back and forth. Let's see. Just switch it on. And you see, this is the length we can actually cut on this machine, and these are 5 centimeters. So that's not a lot. So we see that's quite a limiting factor, and with the tool chucked in the other dimensions on the Z-axis, we have about 7.5 centimeters, and in the X direction, we have about 13.5 centimeters of range. That is a little bit smaller than this T-box, and keep in mind, if you want to use all this volume, mounting the part already gets quite difficult. And also keep in mind that usually you probably have a vise on there, and then again your volume gets diminished by quite a bit. And this is also the reason why I haven't used this machine all that often, because for most applications I have, this thing is simply too small. And I'm in the lucky position that we have a big milling machine in the workshop, so I can just use this. But this is something you definitely want to keep in mind. Also, in probably the next video, we will try to alleviate this problem a little bit, so stay tuned for that. And now the big question is this machine for me? And in the end, you are the only one who can answer that question. But I think if you want it for fine modeling, you will be happy with this machine. If you want it for some more serious machining, there are probably better options out there. Maybe not at the 350 euro price point, but who knows. And with this, it's already time to end the show. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was useful to you. And if you have questions, comments, as always, let them down below, and I try to answer them as quickly and correctly as possible. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And all that's left to say now is thanks for watching, and see you at the next time. Bye bye.